Joining us on the line now is Mary Catherine. She's a creative writer from Ireland, and she's 1/3 of Ansias M. Murray, an Irish-Lithuanian writing team whose work and personal experiences make them conscious of the complexities within relationships. They've written an engaging story that can also assist people to identify what is more important in their life partnership. The book's called The Magical Journey of John and Adele. Welcome to the book show.
Thank you, Hannah. It's a pleasure to be with you.
It's lovely to have you with us. So how did the three of you meet and decide to write a book together?
Well, it was an unusual meeting, that's for sure. One of our team, the gentleman on our team, is actually a nuclear physicist, and he's a nuclear safety inspector. He was employed for with Euratom. And then the second part of our team, Maria, she was in the European Court of Justice. And we all studied together in Paris because I was sent by the Irish Foreign Office. So we all met at a reception, and we've kept our friendship going. That was in 2003.
Oh, lovely. And how did the writing of the book come about then?
Well, that's another really interesting question, because I just was very interested in the questions of relationships, communication in relationships, and why it works sometimes and doesn't work at other times, how we all can address this in our life, because they say that the key to happiness in life is addressing the difficulties in your closest relationships. So I was fascinated with this, and I bought a book in a secondhand book sale, and I went to visit them, and we all got together in a restaurant, and they said, we were thinking of writing a book about relationships. What would you think? And I said, oh, that's fantastic. I just bought a book in a secondhand fair, and I've been thinking about it. So it was a big challenge, Hannah, because I think there are kind of 6 languages between all of us.
Wow.
And we were using French as the language of our friendship because we met in Paris. And that they said, no, we want to write this book in English. And that was a huge challenge, because to get the philosophy and the ideas of 2 different people and your own into a coherent story was something I had never done before.
So how did you work out who did what then? Did you have very distinct roles, the 3 of you?
We kind of fell on our best competences, if you could put it like that, or our best areas, and then luckily the other person would pick up the areas that someone else was weak on. It was really helpful. For example, the technical side of things I would have found very difficult. We had in the beginning so many drafts and so many versions, and so our colleague Darius was in charge of that. And then Maria was actually head of a translation unit in the European Court, so she was well used to legal texts, and she could spot repetition or a gap in logic from 100 paces.
Oh, fantastic.
And I worked on the atmosphere of the novel and the descriptions and development of characters. So it just, the partnership, the team seemed to just work together really well. I don't know how that happened, and I know it's not easy, but it seemed to work.
Yeah. And did you do a lot of planning together in terms of the story, the characters, the ending, that side of things?
We did a lot of planning. I know some people write off the cuff, and it seems to work really well for them. But when you're dealing with linguistic challenges and 3 different writers who are presenting different ideas and different perspectives, to make it a coherent story, you have to plan in advance. And we did that. And it actually, to produce this book, took nearly 5 years.
Wow. So tell us about the two main characters, John and Adele.
Yes, we wanted to present an ordinary couple, just an ordinary couple that you would meet walking in the park or in a shop. Or they've been married for about 25 years. They're both about 50. They have a son who's just started university, and he's at the stage where he's pulling away from the parents, so their parenting responsibilities are pretty much finished, and they suddenly find that they're really not enjoying each other's company, and it's actually not a sudden development. It's clear that it's been happening for many years, and they don't have anything to say to one another anymore, and they don't seem to have anything in common. And so what happens is there's a lot of arguing, of course. So and that's a challenge I suppose all of us have when that happens. So the real challenge is, how are we going to address that? We still love the person. It's a permanent relationship in our lives as far as we're concerned. We want to stay with the person, but how do we actually feel happy in their company and also develop ourselves? Because as time goes on, people change, and everybody wants to develop their own capacity as a person as well as being in a partnership.
So they obviously, I assume, make it work, seeing that it's called The Magical Journey.
Well, the journey itself is magical. We don't actually know whether they're successful with it or not. The journey is magical because it's a novel of magical realism, and as you would know very, very well, Hannah, magical realism means that you're operating in the ordinary world except for one thing that the characters stumble on, that is magic. And this actually helps drive the plot forward as well, and it gives some suspense to the novel that you maybe wouldn't have otherwise if the only focus were the relationship itself. We wanted the novel to be engaging and also uplifting because we were working on it during COVID, and life is hard, and people are always told, oh, you have to lose weight, you have to eat healthy food, you need to exercise, and you need to declutter and improve your relationship, and we didn't want to add this as another burden to their lives. We wanted it to be pleasant and something people would look forward to reading. So the only thing that this couple have to work on in the novel is their own challenges in the relationship. We wanted to make everything else as soothing and calming for the reader as possible.
Lovely. So it's a relaxing read.
It is. But at the same time, there's a lot of suspense. So a couple of people have told us that they stayed up all night.
Well, that's good. And do you think people can learn something from the book? They can look at their own lives and their own relationships and maybe get some tidbits.
And, I'm so glad that you asked me that, Hannah, because it actually is meant as a little toolkit. So you can read the book on two levels. You can just sit down in a comfortable armchair and read it as a pleasant novel, pleasant story, or you can actually pay real attention to what's happening to the couple in the book and look at the challenges they're facing and how they're attempting to address them, and hoping to resolve them, and maybe take a piece from that. We're really hoping that people will find that useful.
Yeah. So now the book is out there. Have the three of you planned to write more together?
Oh, definitely. We want to do a sequel with different challenges, of course, a different couple, and different settings, but the same pleasant atmosphere and the magical realism, because that that's an unusual combination, and it worked for us.
Yeah, lovely. Well, if people want to get a copy of The Magical Journey of John and Adele, it's out now and available on our website, tre.radio. It's by Ansias M. Murray, and we've been chatting to one of the authors on the programme today. That's Mary Catherine. Mary, thank you so much for joining us.
It was a pleasure, Hannah. Thank you so much, and happy reading to all your listeners.
Talk Radio Europe.